Women of Reddit, what do you think would be the worst thing about being a man? No one would bat an eye if you said you were sexual assaulted or harassed. Edit, thank you for the silvers, whomever gave it to me. Edit, I see that two people didn't understand what I meant, so to be more specific. If you were a male, and you were a victim of sexual harassment, or you were a victim of sexual assault and you went to go tell someone what happened to you, chances are that you will be ignored because society stereotypes think you're just lying and all males like being touched. Which is horseshit. With all the news articles I see about women being raped, I asked myself, what about the males? Sexual assault doesn't have a gender, it should be taken seriously for both genders. Honestly, probably people just assuming that you'll do all of the gross shit that no one else wants to do. Fixing up the car, unclogging the toilet, cleaning out the spider webs in the attic, scrubbing the mildew out of the bathtub. Guys are just expected to do it all without complaint because that's the manly thing to do. As a woman, I find it pretty unfair. Alongside that are hiding a boner, people assuming that you can't have mental illnesses/disorders, not being allowed to cry/show emotions/be insecure about your body. All of it is really unfair, I'm sorry guys. Hands down always being the villain. A colleague of mine was a bit on the heavier side, but decided to get into shape and started jogging. So he jogs around his block daily until his smartwatch tells him his quota for the day is full. That day he was a bit late but went for a jog when the sun was setting. Not many people out there, but as he was on his way, some girls saw him jogging their way, got scared and called the cops on him for obviously trying to chase them to rape them or something. Now, the guy didn't know about the call, he just sees two girls seeing him coming, turning around and running away, and he's like, what the fuck? Until the cops come for him. You know, for the biggest offense in the whole human history, trying to get fit. I felt really bad for him. Probably being forced to never, well, feel. There are so many people who make fun of guys for having feelings or even showing them. I would never be able to deal with it, and my heart broke the day my boyfriend told me his exes used to verbally abuse him for crying in front of them. Edit, changed words because I don't wanna make a personal generalization. Edit part 2, I didn't think this would blow up so fast. I've taken the afternoon into the evening reading every single one of your guys' replies, and I am genuinely devastated by some of the things I'm reading. Men, I am so sorry. Words kind of fail me right now, because I don't know what to say to any of you. What I want to say, though, is that you are all incredibly strong human beings. And you are that, a human being. With thoughts, feelings, emotions, and dreams. Your feelings are valid. You all deserve to feel and to be seen, heard, and cared for as a human being. Emotional unavailability of others. As a woman, I definitely face a lot of hardships that men don't have to deal with. But when I'm at my point of breaking, sobbing and inconsolable, I know I can message one of my friends, usually one of the girls, and cry and bitch to them about it, and they will listen to me and really connect with me. They will tell me how shitty the person who did that is, how difficult it must be to deal with, how strong I am for persevering in the face of adversity. On the other hand, I've spent my life trying to be a non-judgmental source of venting for my male friends, and I've found that basically everyone who I'm like that with ends up either thinking I'm into them romantically, or expressing how grateful they are for something they get so little of. Guys are told to just suck it up and push their emotions down, and I think it is harmful to all of us. Being a father of a daughter or even babysitting. The complete mistrust that people give them is astonishing. If she starts throwing a tantrum in public, people always assume the worst. I would want my daughter to give my husband hugs and love him the same as she would love me in public, but people just view it differently. Edit, yes, I am in the US. This is not a new concept, nor is it just located here but also in other countries, from other stories down below. This was happening at least 20 years ago when it happened to my dad too. Everyone should love their kids, and we do need strong male role models. I am so happy for all the love that people are throwing around about their kids. Brag away. Even if this judgment does happen, you are a good father, and nothing anyone else does will change that. Most women think there's nothing wrong with being abusive and cruel with men. It's so upsetting watching women treat men like absolute shit. To top it off, men are expected to still act like a gentleman, and also they're not allowed to feel vulnerable, or to feel sad, angry because some lady was just a little sassy when in reality she was being an abusive piece of shit. Edit, I'm a woman, not a heartbroken dude. Thanks for your concern, lol. Also, it has come to my attention that I didn't get my point across very well. By most women I mean most women I know. I don't claim to know what most women think, I'm just talking from my experience. I've also been cruel to men, it's just too ingrained in our culture that being mean to men is acceptable. It isn't. We cannot expect to have an equal society if we don't treat men respect, tolerance and kindness. Thinking that you can treat men like shit just because they're men is sexist, and we shouldn't tolerate it. We are responsible for creating the world we want to live in. Hope I explained myself better. Have a nice day. Less than 3. Since all of the general stuff has already been answered, I'm gonna talk about specific stuff that would affect me personally. I'd be expected to be friendly with my co-workers. I work in an industry that is incredibly male-dominated, and worse, the majority of the men in it have conventionally masculine interests like sports and hunting. I have one male co-worker who, like me, is a nerd and has no interest in any of that. He actually gets a hard time for it on occasion, while no one bothers with me. It's really easy to make colleagues think you're a nice, sociable person as a woman. Say good morning, smile when you pass in the hall, say ah when they talk. Don't actually have to go out of your way to connect. The predatory stuff that a lot of people are talking about in this thread is something I already have a partial understanding of. I'm a lesbian, and the predatory lesbian stereotype is still a thing in the minds of a lot of not very open-minded people. I'm not particularly butch, though, so strangers wouldn't get that impression from me the way they do from men. So continuing with the theme of LGBT issues, I think gay men are more of a public target than gay women. Gay women obviously do get attacked, like that event on that bus in London, but it feels easier to hide that part of yourself if you feel unsafe as a woman. There's all these rules men have in order to not appear too gay, while if a woman is less than conventionally feminine, the first impression is usually not going to be lesbian. Judging by comments on Reddit, women. It seems the majority think every bloke who so much as glances at them is about to hit on them. And if a man they don't know dares to speak to them in a public space, especially if it's to give a compliment, they presume he's not only going to hit on them, but do so aggressively, and in an intimidating/scary fashion. I'd hate to have to walk near one on a street after 4 in the afternoon, because I'm just waiting for an opportunity to attack them. And I better not even look at their kids, because I'm obviously calculating how I could snatch them or at least have a crafty fiddle. And if that depressed the fuck out of me, and I told one of them, I'd probably be accused of being weak. And get told to man up or grow a pair. And then still be expected to be emotionally strong for every fucker who wants to pile their baggage onto me. Getting your todger in the toilet water when you sit on the bog would piss me right off too. What do? Rinse it under the tap? To everyone who thinks it has something to do with our dicks/balls, I promise we have much bigger problems than our nutsacks sticking to our thighs. We're increasingly assumed to be predators, apparently. We have a suicide rate that is through the roof compared to women. We have a harder time getting custody in divorces because it's assumed that women are the obvious caretakers by default. Increasingly there's tons of stuff about girl pride, but little boys are pretty well screwed if they try to be proud of being a boy. I'll gladly take some ball sweat if all that other stuff will go away. My father was a single parent raising a young girl at a private Catholic grade school. He went to all my Girl Scout parent meetings, came to all the mom-daughter and dad-daughter events like dances and breakfasts, and even volunteered every year for the school's bake-off. Usually only moms participated. He did all these stereotypical motherly events so I wouldn't feel left out. But he got heavily judged and ridiculed by other mothers solely because he wasn't my mom and therefore shouldn't be allowed to participate. The community there was so catty and everyone gossiped about him. Yes, he was a single dad, but he also admitted he would wanna do that stuff anyway because he wanted to spend time with his daughter. Couldn't imagine being judged for wanting to hang with your kid at a baking contest and being told it's wrong. I'm not sure it's the worst thing, but I've found, even though I strongly believe in equality, that I still turn to my husband to know about home maintenance and car repairs, and to do a lot of the dirty work and labor, including some of the heavier emotional labor type stuff, like killing spiders, chasing down scary sounds, or going to get our dying pet euthanized. I relent if I'm reminded that I can do some of this stuff too, but it's just how I've been trained. The hard stuff is for men to deal with. That being said, there are a lot of physical things that are 10 times more difficult for me as a petite woman than my husband or most men, so it makes some sense that I turn to him for that kind of thing. But I do think it would suck a little to have that expectation on you that if you're the only man in the room, you have to do the heavy lifting. Literally.